broadcast, our podcast, making sure you'll never last. Sparks are flying, arcs are striking, subscribing and liking, your interest is spiking. If you're a fabricator, let us be a navigator. Routers and plasmas, the fourth state of matter. Lasers and welding, faster and faster. We're diving deep to help your minds get fatter. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, no matter where you are in the world. I'm glad you're here. Thank you. Welcome to the podcast. You'll notice that we didn't have a podcast this Monday just gone due to scheduling conflicts and stuff like that. I've got a couple of guests that we've been trying to get on here, but we get busy. Hey, it is what it is, right? So I've got a great guest for us today, Aaron, and he used to be support applications engineer at MITS, really service guy as well, and now he works at Industrial Alloys, and he's doing a great job over there. And I'm not going to lie, Industrial Alloys may be one of my favorite customers out there, right? So, but let me bring him in here so he can introduce himself and give us a little bit of background, all right? So let's bring him in. Aaron, how are you?
Pretty good, Dean. How are you?
Good. Google tells me to pronounce your last name a different way than how I say it. So introduce yourself, buddy, and tell everybody about you, where you work, and then we're going to get into the podcast here.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm Aaron Neefe. I'm a former application engineer rather, and now I'm an account manager and technical trainer at Industrial Alloys in Indian Trail, North Carolina. I've been in fabrication for some time, and then I worked with Mitsubishi for a while. Definitely a great period of my life, and now moving into this season, we've decided to work with Industrial Alloys, and excited to see what this brings.
Nice. That's good. So how did you get into tell us how you got into fabrication and what led you down this path, man?
Yeah, so when I was 16, 17 years old, I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, right? And I lived in a real small town in northern Michigan. There really wasn't a whole lot to do occupation-wise there. We had a deli, we had a car shop, and we had a sheet metal shop. So options were kind of thin. So I had a couple of buddies that were either their parents worked at the sheet metal shop or they were there, just helping where they could, just doing general labor stuff. And I was kind of hungry for a job. I wanted to have money like any teenager does. So I went ahead and dropped an application for an apprenticeship there. So they originally brought me on doing powder coat, just slinging parts around that department, powder coat in whatever color of the day. So you could always tell what color we were spraying because the color of my hair when I walked out of the plant in the morning. Then after that, we moved on. I helped with the full-scale layout and direction team. We built assembly line components for automotive manufacturers. So we would do full 200-foot sections inside the plant, erect it, lay it out, put it together. Then they'd have a rep come in, inspect it, and then we'd tear it apart and go install it on site. So that's really how I started getting into fabrication, was assembling those large conveyor assemblies, helping with welding, bending, really whatever they needed at the time as an apprentice. That for a couple of years.
Yeah. And so they did apprenticeships up north, right? So they don't do them much.
Yes and no. It wasn't really a formal apprenticeship. They did title us as fabrication apprentices, but we were still employed by the company and really just working full time for them.
Okay. Now, what's the story behind your you getting involved in your role at MC Machinery, working on on equipment?
Yep. So after that apprenticeship, that stint up there at that shop, I went into the Marine Corps, did 5.5 years there. And getting out of the Marine Corps, I was kind of at a crossroads trying to figure out, do I want to go to college, use my GI Bill, or just get straight into the workforce? And I was actually contacted by MC's headhunter. They found me via LinkedIn, got me connected there. They're very big on hiring veterans. And thankfully, my manager at the time when I first got hired at Mitsubishi as a press brake service technician, he was also a Marine Corps veteran, so that really helped ease that transition from military life to civilian life. And then it's from there. It was just working my way up from being a service technician to one of the senior field service engineers handling a product line. So I was the go-to guy for a couple of years for the automatic tool changers there at Mitsubishi. Then after that, I still just I wanted to learn lasers. So I saw an opening in the application engineering department. So I put my name in for that one and just ended up getting it and had a great time in that department, worked there for a couple of years. And then, from there, it was a great position, great team that I was surrounded by. But I got an opportunity at Haas Multi-Grind. It's a high precision grinding company. They were offering me a position as an application engineer, and they're really trying to get established here in North America. They're looking for someone that could grow into the North American applications manager role. So that I put my name in the hat for that, and they brought me on. And another great company. It was a great opportunity to work for them. Now we got a baby on the way, so didn't really want to.
Yeah.
And I called up John and Chris at Industrial Alloys. I had worked with them previously when I was at Mitsubishi, and had a really great relationship. You made the joke in the intro that they were one of your favorite customers. When I was at MITS, they were one of my favorite customers as well. They're a great group of people. They always do right by their customers. They stand by their work, and they just have a really good family atmosphere in the shop. And I was just thinking, if I'm going to go back into fabrication at the shop level, that's the environment I want to be in. So gave them Fortunately, they had an opening, and here we are.
Good. Awesome. Now, we were supposed to have John on here, but I couldn't twist his arm with an ice cream today as well. So
he didn't fall for the ice cream.
I know, and I hope he's listening, because I'm going to turn up and I'll have an ice cream next time I come over. So that's pretty good. I know you did a real good job working with our customers as well when you're at MC Machinery. I mean, I know I call you and get questions answered all the time. Heck, I've even called John and talked to John and Chris over there and asked, can you do this? Right? And
no better person to ask than the ones that use it day in and day out.
Yeah, exactly. So walk us through a typical day in a role of start to finish. Like, what machines or processes are you responsible for daily in the shop at Industrial Alloys?
Yeah, so we're a job shop. So really it's flavor of the day on what the day is going to look like. So like I mentioned, I handle accounts as an account manager. I handle a lot of sales accounts for existing customers and also seeking out new ones. So a big portion of my job is really just project management, staying on top of jobs that we've already bid and are already on the shop floor. And with that, comes going out on the shop floor. I'm one of those people that like getting my hands dirty. I'll never ask someone on the floor to do something I'm not prepared to do myself. So if we've got a project that maybe is lacking in the forming department just because the forming department's slammed, I'll go out there, grab the parts, and we'll start forming them. Same thing for cutting or welding. I mean, if the job needs to get done, it needs to get done. That's the bottom line. So, it's really flavor of the day. If we're really slammed with work, then we got to take care of what we got on the floor. So I go out there and help the guys out. On the flip side, if things are a little slow, then calling customers, making sure that previous orders that we fulfilled for them were satisfactory. We want to make sure that we're taking care of our customers, but then also seeing if there's any other projects coming down the pipe that we need to keep in the back of our mind. Just maybe we need to tool up for if we got a big machining job coming down, or maybe I need to get some material on order if these guys might have like a big 1/4-inch job coming in, something like that. I like staying in touch with my customers as well, making sure that we're prepared on our shop floor. So when those jobs do come down, we can have so we're as proactive as possible for when that work comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, so you guys do everything from you're working on stainless, mild steel, whatever, right? So
yeah, so we specialize in stainless and mild steel for the most part. Chris and John are going to hate me saying this, but I'm really trying to tap into that aluminum market. There's definitely a market share to be had there. So not many jobs, a lot of job shops rather like to shy away from aluminum, and historically us included, but we're definitely jumping in feet first. I'm trying to get us more of that.
Why do you think that is? Because I thought even if it's 52 aluminum, right, it's pretty easy stuff to work with.
Yeah, 5052, especially T0, I mean, that stuff forms like butter. We definitely tested a lot at Mitsubishi, and I really like the material. But seeing it from this side of things and working with John and just talking through their existing accounts that they do have, it's one of those materials that, the price is so high, sometimes it's just hard to bid. So you really got to buy it in volume to get those prices down. To be competitive in that market, because there's shops that specialize in just aluminum and you're competing against those guys. So when you're a shop like us that has so many different material, because we go anything from 24 gauge all the way up to plate material. Just this last week we had a weldment go out the door that had some 2 and 3 inch plate. So we're all over the place on our material thicknesses. And when you're buying aluminum in such low volumes, it's really hard to stay competitive on the pricing there. So I'm trying to get us more into that market by, ordering more of it. And hopefully we can get those prices down and be competitive in that market.
Yeah.
So it really is it's an easy material to work with. It really is.
Yeah. Yeah. I did like it. I always hated MIG welding it. I couldn't stand it. I would skip the MIG weld and TIG weld that thing all day because it was easier, cleaner, it's I hated those MIG welding for aluminum, the spool guns and stuff like that. So what's the team vibe like in the shop? I can probably answer some of that. I mean, every time I go there, we have some great conversations and that. So is it fun, family orientated, and
it's definitely close knit. I would say it's very much like a family, for good and for bad, right? So we have a good group of guys on the shop floor that are like brothers, and you definitely have those fatherly and uncle figures on the shop floor too, right? And it's great that everyone's close, but there is, not all families get along at all times. So every shop's got their hurdles, but I think we have a pretty good handle on things. Our guys get along really well. And with that, everyone's able to talk things out if things ever do get tense. I think it's a really good, like family style, feeling in the shop. But we're not really corporate feeling at all. There's you definitely don't have the suits walking around, so to speak. Chris and Kim, the primary owners of the business, they like to make a lap around the shop multiple times a day, not to keep an eye on things, but to genuinely see how people are doing, make sure everyone's doing all right. And that trickles all the way down. Our team leads are really good about that too. If someone's maybe slacking, they instead of reprimanding them right away, we don't do that. We come in, make sure the person's all right on a personal level, talk it out. If there's something that maybe is out of our control and we need to have them go home for whatever personal reasons, no harm, no foul. That's not a problem. So we're very flexible when it comes to that sort of stuff. It's a very family-owned small shop atmosphere.
Yeah. I know you haven't been there long, but I know they've done some pretty good projects that So I wanted to talk about projects that pushed you. I just want to dig into some of the proudest builds and some of the hardest days. So tell us about a project that really pushed your limits.
Yeah, for sure. So like you mentioned, I'm pretty new to industrial alloys. So fortunately or unfortunately, I haven't really had too many of those super challenging projects there
Mm-hmm.
yet. I've definitely seen their portfolio of work, and they've big or small, they really do handle it like all there's no work we really shy away from. On a personal level for me, I can think of a few different instances. I had a instance I was up in uh, upstate New York at a customer. They're strictly a prototype shop for big companies like Bell, Boeing, Lockheed Martin. They do a lot of
Mm-hmm.
government work, a lot of prototype work for the aerospace industry. And of all things, windshield wipers for the 787. We're we're making those, but they're made out of titanium. And at that point in time, I had never bent titanium on a press brake before. So that one was a real head scratcher for me because I just had never done it, and we were getting stress fractures left and right. So it was definitely a big learning experience for me because it's really daunting when you're handling a prototype part that's made out of an obscure material and it's thousands of dollars in your hand just based off the contract, because they were getting the blanks straight from the manufacturer. They didn't have the freedom to make their own blanks in house.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was one of those instances. We screw up, we screwed up. So that was one of them. It was a very daunting experience. It turned out a
Yeah.
little easier than I had thought it was going to be, but it was one of those things that really made you rack your brain and make sure you're doing it right, going back to the fundamentals of forming parts and doing the math correctly, getting your stretch out calculated correctly, all that.
Yeah. I felt that kind of pressure when I smoked some Wagyu beef once.
Yeah, that's an expensive screw up.
No, I'm just messing. Yeah, yeah. Is that when you bend the titanium, you're talking about stress factors? Is it real springy material like the spring back in that, or?
It actually holds memory pretty well. The thing that we found, by stress fractures, imagine bending like a 6000 series aluminum, like a T6 temper.
Yeah.
It bends really well until it doesn't, and then it just
Okay.
snaps right down the backbone of that bend. So um, the customer wasn't the most happy with me, but I did break a couple of their pieces when we were figuring out, because the print called for a very tight radius as well. So of course you got to
Yeah.
have right V-die selection to do that. So what we ended up doing was preforming it with a wider V-die, bigger radius, and then we ended up closing up the V-die. So we'd preform it to say 135 degrees open, or maybe even a little tighter, and then close it up with a smaller radius punch and a smaller V-die, and that ended up working out pretty well. But you definitely don't want to one-shot it in that narrow V-die to get that small radius.
Yeah.
We learned that one the
Yeah.
hard way.
Yeah. So, how do you problem solve when something isn't lining up or fitting right, or you run into problems? Because some of these questions may be simple for some of us guys that have been doing this a long time, but my goal in this podcast is reach out to the younger guys and even guys who want to pick up a trade and get into this, right? So it's not just about asking questions that we already know answers to. It's about giving answers to questions that people may have. I was asked questions over the weekend about welding, you
Yep.
know, because there's a 17-year-old girl, 18-year-old girl who's just started picking up a welding torch, right?
Right.
And that's what this podcast is about, because we need these guys because we're building America. That's
Oh
what
yeah.
we're about. And so how would you go about problem solving when you come across things like you were telling us about?
So when I was in a drafting class, my instructor, he had a phrase that just stuck with me. It's KISS, KISS, keep it stupid simple.
Hmm.
So I always think about that. Keep it simple. Go back to the basics, right? So bending most materials has been pretty well figured out what those K factors are, what the math is. Like the math already exists for most materials. So if I do ever run into a challenge that maybe it's a material I've never worked with before, maybe it's just something that I have worked with, but I just don't remember what my stretch out's going to be, what I can get away with tooling wise. I go back to the basics. There's some really good resources out there. I saw you've posted some on the sheetmetaltv.com. There's also some really good resources on the FMA's website, as well as SSAB. They've got a really nice bend calculator out there that uses real world material data. And then you also have MatWeb out there, which tells you all of your critical information regarding really every material out there. MatWeb's a database for material certification, so they just hold on to everything, right? So the formulas exist, the data exists, so I keep it simple. I take a very methodical approach to it. If there's something involving stretch out or radiuses that come into question, I go ahead and get the materials information. I punch it into the formulas, make sure that my stretch out calculations are right, my radius is going to be okay, my tooling selection is going to be compatible with whatever I'm working with. And then if it's something more obscure, like I got a real intricate part with different, with let's say like 5 or 6 bends, but you can't quite figure out what sequence you want to do them in. If it's something that the software can't figure out, because we do have the Diamond Bend software from Mitsubishi, which is a very great tool. But I realize that not everyone has that, and it's no software out there is perfect. So back to the KISS, right? I'll take out a piece of paper or a piece of cardboard. I'll cut it into a relative shape of what the part flat pattern looks like, and I just fold it until I can make it fold in the right sequence into the relative shape, and then I number it. This is my bend sequence for that part. So it's really cheap, quick way of proofing out a bend sequence without wasting material.
Yeah. So what's the coolest thing you've ever built or engineered? What's the coolest thing you've done?
Ironically, it wasn't in sheet metal. When I was working with the Haas multi-ground, I got exposed to some really cool turbine components. So we were working with an Inconel based super alloy, grinding that away, and that was a really unique experience. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was in aviation. I was a mechanic on CH-53 helicopters. So ironically, the plant that I was at was making the same exact engines that I had worked on when I was in the Marine Corps. So for me personally, that was a pretty cool experience, getting to grind those turbine blades that would have been going into a product that someone like me would have been using in the real world. In fabrication, definitely I've gotten, for me, I thought it was, I would say that there's a motor lamination company that they do everything from case rebuilds to full scale motor assembly, AC motor assembly. And we're not talking about little motors. We're talking about big generator motors for like wind turbines. So that was very rewarding. We were cutting motor lamination shim stacks with tolerances of +2, -0. And we're talking 3,000 pieces stacked on top of each other, holding an overall tolerance of +5, -0. So seeing something like that go together and knowing that you directly influenced it, that was a pretty rewarding experience.
I think the coolest thing I've ever built was a barge.
Okay.
And so I worked for a company, and we built a barge that had like a digger thing on it,
Okay.
and it would clean the lake, right?
Okay, like a dredging barge.
Yeah. And we made this thing, and we took the LD28 diesel engine out of a station wagon that used to be a family car for the guy who owned the company, and we put it in this thing. We sunk the barge once, but that'd probably be the coolest project I've ever got to work on. That's fun. That was back in my younger years. So
Younger years, you don't look a day over 30.
I know, right? I know. Well, you've got one on the way. You'll age a little bit, but I've had 4, so I've aged a little bit.
Yeah, I'm hanging on to my hair while I still got it.
Right. So now let's get a little nerdy and technical for the trade savvy guys, right, and girls.
Mm-hmm.
what software or machines can't you live without?
Definitely a good CAD software on the software side. In today's world, I mean, you can definitely succeed running 2D CAD, but for me personally, 3D CAD is invaluable, especially when you're working with assemblies, weldments, that sort of stuff. It's very helpful when you're working with multiple component assemblies, and you can just roll back the assembly and see the inner workings of it. Just see a lot of details you don't typically see on a print, or would be very hard to see on a print without making the thing 15 pages long. So on the software side, I would definitely say get yourself paired up with a good 3D CAD, whether that's SolidWorks, Fusion, Inventor, SpaceClaim, insert software here, but as long as it's a good 3D software, you'd be squared away. As far as machinery, for us, we would be lost without our lasers and press brakes. We have fantastic equipment. I know I'm probably biased because I worked for MITS, but I truly do believe they make one of the best lasers on the market, and I do believe that the Murata press brakes that they represent are the best press brakes on the market. It's crazy accurate, very reliable, very user friendly, and that's one thing too. Going into the real world, you need to have something that has a good user interface. It's very hard to find skilled labor nowadays. So something that's easy enough that any kid that can run a tablet can run the machine tool definitely helps out. So the old machines definitely had their place. They made a lot of good parts, but the newer machines with good user interfaces, I think, are invaluable.
I think so. Machines now, everybody's on an iPhone or an iPad, right? Like you're getting people, hey, look, I've got guys coming in who can't run a press brake or can't do this, but they can fly drones or they can do this. Well, I think machines now, the controllers are getting more like a handheld touch device, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's easy. Smooth, drag your finger across the screen, touch screen, everything. I do love that. Are there any underrated tools that you swear by? I normally ask this question because I've had a few guys on. I normally ask a question: what's one underrated tool that you swear by today that you would?
That's a curveball question. Underrated tool. We might have to revisit that one. Man, you got me off guard on that one. So for underrated tool, I would say really crap. That's a good one, Dean.
Me and my buddy Pat Patterson, and if you guys are listening to the podcast, and if you for that one, Pat Patterson, we go back a long way, and we come up with the notcher, right?
Yeah.
Very underrated tool. You can build a lot of stuff with a notcher, and right. So
we do have an old Scotchman in the corner of the shop, and we use the nibbler on that quite a bit. You're right. That's one of those things that you don't really think about. A lot of shops have them, and they sit over there, and they don't get a whole lot of use, but you definitely miss them if you don't have them.
Man, we had a laser punch combo, and I tell you what, I could do a bunch of stainless steel cabinets. We used to do work for Walmart, Sam's Club, and make all the stainless steel cabinets and stuff like that. I tell you what, the laser punch combo did a lot of that work, but there's a lot of work that it was easier and quicker to just throw that sheet on a table and notch the corners and then go and bend it on the press brake.
Oh, yeah.
And you'd be amazed at how much you can actually get accomplished with a shear and a notcher.
We do a lot of pan work, and we do similar stuff. It's instead of cutting in line on the laser, it is a lot quicker sometimes just to go to the shear, cut out the blank, and cut in your corners.
Yeah. Now, what certifications or training helped you the most now where you're working?
So the Marine Corps is very good about teaching organizational skills and time management skills. So that I feel like that really stuck with me. And then on a vocational side, one training that really sticks out to me is I did the FMA advanced metal forming class. They had Steve Benson come in. It's a 2 or 3 day course. I can't quite remember. But he goes through all the way through the history of the press brakes, through the arithmetic involved in calculating a flat pattern, and then the actual process of bending parts. And while, yeah, I had already been in this world, there's definitely a lot of stuff that you get habitual with stuff and you start doing things your own way. And that class really reeled me back and grounded me back into the basics of, hey, we really do need to be double checking this stuff. We do need to be checking out flat patterns, or lo and behold, I might have been calculating something wrong, right? So that class was a really good resource from an information standpoint as well as a networking standpoint. But it was really good for just going back to the basics on forming, but then stepping into that advanced side of it. They do a really good job with that class. And then on the networking side of that class, you get exposed to people from all over North America in this particular class that are all bending parts, whether it's simple pan work all the way up to really advanced prototyping work. And we're talking little itty bitty things with a dozen bends in them, right? So it was a great opportunity to network with those individuals. And now I've got, those contacts for life that I can, if I got a question, I can call up, Tim up in New York and give him a call and say, hey man, I'm really struggling with this piece. I know you guys bend a lot of, insert material here. Do you mind giving me a hand with this one? It's really racking my brain. So, as far as the certification goes, it was great, but I think the networking opportunity from that course was invaluable.
Yeah. And I think, that's why I like, having good customers as well, because I can, if I get a question, I'm like, I don't think so. I don't think that works like that. I know I can ask one of my customers, I say, hey, John, hey, David, hey, Chris, can you do this? I didn't think you could do it that way.
Right.
And it's helpful, man, because sometimes I think it's always good to go back to the basics. And sometimes, we're supposed to know a lot of things on this whole planet. You can't remember them all, right?
Yeah.
So,
I had a guy that used to tell me it doesn't matter what you know, it matters who you know and if you can find the answer. And
yeah,
the older I
yeah,
get, the more I find that to be true. You don't have to know anything except for where to find the answers.
yeah, yeah. So I'm taking you still learn new stuff every week.
Oh,
Well,
absolutely.
I don't think we will ever get it dialed in.
No.
Things change on the daily, and methods change daily. I know. Yeah, we get a few comments on YouTube. I'm not sure if they're trolls or actual comments, but we get a few weird questions and a few upset people about, well, this is fake or this is. I'm like, no, there's some stuff that's application specific, and I don't think a lot of people understand that sometimes.
Yep.
There, just because there's a tool, it doesn't mean it's right for everything.
Right.
So that I wholeheartedly believe, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
For instance, back to the whole materials thing we spoke about earlier. I mean, you could have the same part in 3 different materials, and it's going to form completely different with the 3 different materials. So the way you'd approach that same part, depending on the geometry, could be completely different. Your train of thought is going to be completely different, and that's
yep,
just materials alone. Now you get into different applications, different geometries. Now we're really opening Pandora's box.
yep. So um, I want to jump into shop culture and stories here and capture um, some of the humor of working in fabrication shops. But first, I just want to give a shout out. Um, Now, I don't get paid or sponsored by Fabrication Nation Radio, but these guys, if you're looking for some tunes to listen in your shop, Fabrication Nation Radio is a pretty good app, and it'll get you through your workday every day. I definitely like it when I'm on the road and jamming out with some music. So make sure you check those guys out. They're good friends of mine, and absolutely terrific crew. All right, so check those guys out. So who's the joker or the wild card in your shop?
Definitely be John.
Yes,
I really wish we could have got
it.
him in this podcast. It would have been great, but he would never admit to it. But he's definitely the one that he's the prankster in the shop. He knows the crew so well that he knows just enough to get under the skin where it's not going to get him upset, but it will get him going, right? So
Yeah.
John will definitely get the best out of people.
Nice. Have you got any traditions, sayings, or rituals that happen on Fridays now in the shop there?
On Fridays, not so much. I mean, we do like to take some of the heavy hitters of the shop out to lunch. So we do kind of keep an eye on who's performing. I mean, all of our guys do a great job, but everyone, everyone fluctuates a little bit. So we take note of that, and whoever we kind of think about, John, the rest of the leadership, we think about it, and we talk about it, who really the heavy hitters on the shop floor are for that week. We try to treat them out to lunch at a minimum. I really do think it's important to recognize that. I mean, our greatest asset is our guys on the floor. So we try keeping taking care of them the best we can. So we don't really have any rituals per se, but that's I would say if anything, that's our tradition.
Yeah. Here's one. Robert Nola, if you're listening, this one's for you because I know I used to make you pull your hair out. Have you ever put a prank on the floor or been the victim of a prank?
Yeah. So I got a 3D printer, and we have an individual who is a very big conservative person, and we printed out little plaques that were like top donor to insert campaign here. And we would hide them in subtle places around his workspace, whether it's on his plate roller or in his toolbox, and you'd see those things flying across the shop as soon as he found it, and you'd definitely hear about it. You didn't even have to be in the building, and you'd know he found one. So, we like to poke fun at each other like that.
Yeah, I mean, pranks are probably frowned upon a lot more than nowadays than they were in the early days. I remember in the early 90s, I think may have been 96 when I was working. I had a little motorbike, and I was on a job site. I come back and I couldn't find my bike, and I thought maybe the guys put it in the shop. I looked everywhere. I was calling these guys, and they were laughing. And we didn't have cell phones back then either, guys. So, well, I didn't. I had to call on the corded phone, and you dial the number.
Yep.
And my motorbike was sitting on top of the office building. And I was like, man,
nice.
They put it up there with the forklift. I don't think you can do those sort of pranks anymore these days.
Yeah, but, it might be frowned on. That might hurt someone's feelings, but I think it'd be funny.
So what's the music situation like? Metal, country, silence, podcast? What's everybody?
It's a healthy mix of all of it. So we don't have any rules on music or anything like that. We want the guys to be comfortable, but we also want it to be safe. So people keep it at a respectful volume. But when you go in the forming department, more often than not, you're going to hear some country. You go to our sawing department. He likes the old 80s hair bands. And then you go over to the welding department, and it's silence because they all got their earbuds in underneath their masks. So I know a couple of those guys are listening to podcasts. A couple of those guys are listening to music. And then you go over to our shipping and receiving, and he's got his music on as well. So we definitely like our guys to be comfortable, and it's a healthy mix of different genres of music around our shop.
Yeah. That's good. Now, for this next segment, future of fabrication, right? So looking ahead at trade trends, AI, automation, and advice for newcomers, where do you see the trade heading in the next 5 to 10 years?
Definitely see a huge surge of automation coming up. Like I'd mentioned, it's getting increasingly difficult to find skilled folks in this line of work. Ever since COVID, it seems like it really put a damper on the industry. But I mean, we still got to keep the world spinning. We still got to make stuff. So the workload hasn't changed, but the amount of folks in this industry definitely has. So we're definitely, I believe we're going to see a huge uptick in automation, whether that's robotic welders, material handling, I mean, you name it, it's coming. As well as artificial intelligence. I know Robert Mann touched on it a couple of weeks ago in the podcast, and I think he did a really good job explaining it. Artificial intelligence, it's, I mean, whether we like it or not, it's here. I personally think we ought to leverage it as much as we can. But I know I use it, whether that's something as simple as correspondence with customers, staying on top of my schedule, reminding me to do whatever. I use it like a personal assistant. Or as far as the GX laser from Mitsubishi, it's monitoring the cut and changing speeds and feeds accordingly to maintain good cutting. So AI is definitely on the way as well. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, we'll probably see the automation uptick as well as the AI uptick, and I believe we're probably going to start seeing those getting combined. And we're already seeing it in our ERP software.
Yeah.
Our ERP it's got an AI algorithm in it that suggests, it builds out a schedule for cutting, suggests how to build out our work orders for our cutting department. And we tend to follow it pretty closely because it's very difficult to figure out a more efficient way to cut than what the AI is suggesting, at least in our case. So I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah. No, I think you either got to jump on board or you're going to get left behind. I feel. So now, what advice do you have for young people coming into this trade?
Really, if you're interested in it, go for it. Apply yourself. Don't stop asking questions. Be annoying to the old guys, because you'll notice there's a really big age gap in this industry. You see a lot of folks that are nearing retirement, a really big gap, and then young kids that they either stay in it or they revolving door out of it. I think a lot of that is because maybe they're not being fed the information. I think there's a generational difference there. So for our generation, one thing I think we need to be proactive on is asking those questions and bugging the older guys to teach them. Because every time one of those older guys retires, they're taking a notebook in their back pocket full of information with them. So it'd behoove the younger generation to ask as many questions as they can, be hungry for that information, apply yourself, understand that the generation before you, they value work ethics. So you really need to apply yourself in being reliable. And then that older generation will definitely will lead you in the right direction, take you under their wing, and teach you the information that they have. Get a good mentor. That's something that throughout my career, getting a good mentor at every step of the way has been incredibly invaluable. Find that old guy that is the go-to guy. He's the shop wizard, so to speak, and do whatever you can to get in their good graces. So they will teach you what they know. There are guys, even at our shop, our gentleman that is now our foreman, he has probably forgotten more things about forming sheet metal than I will ever learn in my life. So the people like that, those are the ones that you need to befriend. You need to earn their trust, and you need to you need to learn what they know. You need to be a sponge.
Yeah. One of my mentors was a guy from Hungary when I first started. And he taught me everything there was about rolling, bending, and when I was probably 18, 19, here I am helping him, and we're building roll cages to go on utility trucks, right? So yeah, there are some good mentors out there. So as we wrap it up, are there any shout outs to mentors, co-workers, or old shops you worked at?
Yeah, for sure. So as far as mentors, I really want to give a shout out to Mr. Yamamoto at Murata Machinery. He's a lead proposal engineer there that really taught me what it is to be an engineer who values the product and sees a project sees it through start to finish rather. David Bray, he's the press brake product manager at MC Machinery Systems. He showed me what a work ethic really is. I mean, in the Marine Corps, they make you work, and that's something that you don't have a choice. But David Bray, he showed me in the civilian world, what a work ethic is. This gentleman he's always, you could show up at 6 o'clock in the morning, his car's in the parking lot. You could leave at 7, 8 o'clock at night, his car's in the parking lot. Not saying you need to work yourself to death, but he definitely taught me what a work ethic is and how to be passionate about something.
And we won't hold it against them for being part Australian. Yeah, no, all good. Where can people follow you, follow your work, or connect with you? Plus, I will make sure I'll have all the details will be below as well, guys. You want to reach out to the guys at Industrial Alloys as well. So, where can people follow you and get hold of you?
I try to stay pretty active on LinkedIn, so you can look me up. My name's on the screen here, Aaron Neefe. Like I said, I stay pretty active on LinkedIn. I like to stay on top of what's going in and out of our shop. So if you want to get a taste of what Industrial Alloys is about, there's definitely a nice visual portfolio there. If you ever want to just keep up and see what our shop's up to, you have myself on LinkedIn. You have Industrial Alloys has a LinkedIn page as well. And we can be seen at iaifab.com.
Yeah, and I believe I've got it here, but everything will be below, guys, when as well. So, and I'll put it in the description of the video. Also on Spotify and all those audio platforms, you'll see it in the description as well. So, Aaron, any final words to anyone listening who's thinking about going into this field, or any words of encouragement? I know I try to encourage people until I'm blue in the face, because I'm telling you, manufacturing is an exciting field to be in. It's great. I had so much fun when I started out as a welder, and trust me, you may not stay a welder all your life, right?
Right.
You move, you grow, you do other things. So,
I guess if there was anything I would say to encourage or lure people into this industry is, it's very difficult to find a more rewarding line of work, and there's also a lot of avenues in this line of work. So, for just look around you when next time you're out in public or even at your home, there's fabricated metal pieces everywhere. Whether it's the ductwork in your house or as you're going down the road, you'll see a transformer that, heck, Industrial Alloys very well might have put together. So it's really rewarding to see all these things in the real world that you might have had a hand in putting together. And then also with sheet metal fabrication, you're never tied down to one specific thing. Industrial Alloys, we started as a metal distribution company, got into fabrication. We definitely found our niche in a full process fab for mid thickness mild steel and stainless steel. But then with the whole, you're never tied down to any avenue. I'm starting to get us into the aluminum industry. We might even start making, maybe even boats in the next 6 to 12 months. So there's opportunities to get into really anything out there. Anything made out of metal, sheet metal fabrication is involved, right? So if there's something you take an interest in, whether it's race cars or airplanes or wind turbines out in the field, all of this stuff is made by someone, and there's definitely a way to get into that. It's a very rewarding line of work.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, I appreciate your time, Aaron. I'm gonna do the outro and sign off here. So I appreciate it. I'll talk to you in a few seconds. All right.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. All right, guys. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Remember, I will leave details on that below so you can get in touch with the guys at Industrial Alloys. Anyway, thank you for listening on the podcast. It's been very good on the audio platforms. And we've been getting a lot of questions coming through Instagram and whatnot. So I appreciate the feedback and remember, we don't get paid to do this, and we have a merch store. So if you want to grab an awesome looking shirt, you can go to sheetmetaltv.com and grab a shirt off the merch store. Sorry. And also the website, we've got links on there. So we've got one area where you can go to get all information you need, right? So thank you. Have a great one. I'll see you out there. Keep cutting, keep bending, keep welding, and have a great one.